Hello and welcome back to DetoxToRehab Presents Reflection Live. I am Brandon, your moderator, and today we are joined by Bianca, Sarah, and Connor. I want to remind everybody watching that we're going to be taking questions from the audience, so feel free to comment below the video on Facebook, and we'll be taking your questions later on. We do this every Monday at 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and yeah, feel free to comment below. So today's reflection is called Serenity After the Storm. Someone who knew what he was talking about once remarked that pain was the touchstone of all spiritual progress. How heartily we in recovery can agree with him. When on the roller coaster of emotional turmoil, I remember that growth is often painful. My evolution in recovery has taught me that I must experience the inner change, however painful, that eventually guides me from selfishness to selflessness. If I am to have serenity, I must step my way past emotional turmoil and its subsequent hangover, and be grateful for continuing spiritual progress.
Connor?
I don't know. I take this a little bit differently. Growth for me is like something that's super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The painful part is like right before the growth.
Yeah,
right?
like the feeling in your stomach
right.
type thing.
Where I'm in like whatever behavior I'm in or whatever mood or just wherever I'm at. And then it just gets difficult and painful until I hit that point where I'm ready to do something about it, and
right.
That's when the pain is great enough, and then I get uncomfortable and I'm willing to improve myself, change my behavior or actions or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of anything specific right now.
So what would be like an example in your life that you've had some painful growth? Like was your sobriety painful in the beginning?
Yeah, I guess definitely that's the obvious one, right? Where, you suffered so much and experienced so much pain and anguish that I get desperate enough to make some change that eventually guides me from selfishness to selflessness.
Right.
And I think that's a huge part of the shift that happens, right?
Yeah.
So.
For me, I like the way you saw it. Like, I didn't think of it that way, but it just reminds me of my life. Like, this is my life in a paragraph. Just everything was so painful, and in order for me to be continuing on a spiritual path, like, I had to go through what I went through to be where I am today. And I don't think the drugs and alcohol didn't make me, they made me do stupid things, but it didn't make me a bad person. And how was I going to word that? It's just like, no matter what I went through, I'm grateful for it, and I don't think I would be as much of a spiritual and grateful, loving, caring, just free-spirited person if I didn't go through all these negative things that I went through. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm happy I did, because I know a lot of people do regret going through what they had to go through in order to get where they are today, but it shouldn't be like that. You should be blessed because you did come out on top, and no matter, like, if you're messing up, like, you just need to keep going, and you'll eventually get to the point where you will be grateful for the continuing of spiritual progress. And I like when you brought up this selfishness to selflessness. The only word I knew in my addiction was selfish. That's the only thing I was good at, regardless. Like, if it was me using all the drugs and someone sick next to me, I wouldn't give it to them. Or me being away from home and having my mom worry at night and not being there for my sister when she was pregnant. Like, there's so many different type of selfish things that I did. And now I can just my sister's pregnant again, and she asked me, she was like, hey, do you think you can come out and help me, because she's on bed rest right now. And I told her, like, if she really needs me, I'll take off work and I'll go, because that's what I do for my family now. And I've just turned into, like, a selfless person, and it's not all about Bianca anymore. And it was uncomfortable to do that, because I'm so used to having, like, you know, Princess Bianca, like, whatever you want, you get. And it's just completely different now. Like, I don't need to take anymore. It's just more of, like, I give, and I give what I have freely to others, and it's a beautiful process. And I'm very grateful that I'm as spiritual as I am, because as I said, like, it makes me the person I am today.
It's almost like it's not the change that's the painful part. Like, the pain comes to make you want to make the change.
Yeah.
And then, like, through that, like how you were saying, without that, you probably wouldn't be as spiritual, because it's that pain that, like, makes you appreciate
Right.
everything. It, like, puts it into perspective.
Yeah. With your brother or your dad, if they were to read this, like, or you reading it, what would you tell them? Like, what did you get out of this that could help them? If you can answer that.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I know when my brother decided he wanted to get clean, it had a lot to do with him being worried that he was going to overdose.
Right.
And he's just kind of done living like that. But I know that after going through detox and stuff like that, he was, he started to think about a lot of the things that he had done before.
Right.
And that caused him, like, emotional pain to, like,
Right.
know that he had put us through all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, I guess he kind of decided that he didn't want to be like that anymore.
Right.
So it was kind of more of like an emotional, you know, it came after he was clean, but
Yeah.
it was like a realization of all of the things that he had done that
Mhm.
made him want to stay that way, want to stay
Right.
clean.
I'm proud of him.
Me too.
That's awesome.
Definitely.
You know, it takes hard work and dedication to be and stay clean and sober,
Mhm.
and be happy while doing it, because I know a lot of people who aren't happy in their recovery because they don't do what's necessary, and they're just kind of doing it not for them.
Yeah.
And I can tell that he's doing it for him, and it's
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
I'm good. The next one's long. Let's start on that one.
Okay.
All right. And like Connor said, this next one is very long. It's about half a page of text, so please bear with us. It's titled Losing Self-Will. Our egos, once so large and dominant, now take a back seat because we are in harmony with our higher power. We find that we lead richer, happier, and much fuller lives when we lose self-will. Addiction and self-will go hand in hand. The unmanageability that we admitted to in step 1 was as much a product of our self-will as it was of our chronic drug abuse. And today, living on self-will can make our lives just as unmanageable as they were when we were using. When our ideas, our desires, our demands take first place in our lives, we find ourselves in constant conflict with everyone and everything around us. Self-will reflects our reliance on ego. The only thing that will free us from self-will and the conflict it generates in our lives is to break our reliance on ego, coming to rely instead on the guidance and power offered by our higher power. We are taught to consult spiritual principles, not our selfish desires, in making our decisions. We are taught to seek guidance from a higher power, one with a larger vision of things than our own. In doing this, we find our lives meshing more and more easily with the order of things around us. No longer do we exclude ourselves from the flow of life, we become part of it, and discover the fullness of what recovery has to offer. Just for today, I seek freedom from ego and the conflicts generated by self-will. I will try to improve my conscious contact with my higher power, seeking the guidance I need to live in harmony with my world.
Okay, so I laughed at a part of this when it said, when our ideas, our desires, our demands take first place in our lives, we find ourselves in a constant conflict with everyone and everything around us. Before, like when I was in high school, my addiction, in my addiction, before my family really knew, before I went to the rehabs and just wasn't allowed at home, my mom and I would just, oh gosh, like I couldn't even explain. And I think it's funny now, because even though if we do get into little arguments now, like I can just learn to, you know, walk away, put my pride and ego like down, and just be like, you know what, maybe she's right, think of her side of things. And I just thought it was funny, because like I was in constant conflict with everyone and everything around me. It was all about me, and it just kind of reminds me of what we just read, like no matter what, everything was going to be Bianca. Like everything is about me. Like, this is your fault, this isn't my fault. I could have spilt a drink and made you believe it was your fault. That's how like manipulative and just mean I was. But other than that, like addiction and self-will do go hand in hand. My self-will gets me high. If I didn't have something greater than myself to restore me to sanity, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I don't know how I even got, like, with working the steps and working with my sponsor and constant prayer and meditation, like that's how I am the way I am. That's why my self-will, like I know, okay, so I have this joke at my work, and it's like, you know, I didn't pray when I drive like an asshole. And it's because like I'm not calm and like serene and just at peace with myself, because I'm running on self-will. And I can totally tell the difference between like what Bianca's will is and what my higher power's will is, because like I'll feel guilty about doing certain things, and I know that that's like the Bianca or my like higher power being like, hey, like, you know, get your stuff together, like this is your will, this isn't mine, like, and it's just gonna end up with me getting high. So what was that face?
And that's the worst ending to that, right? The ego is one of my favorite things to talk about, because I think it's overlooked a lot. As a drug addict, well, I mean, I guess I can only talk for myself, but I know a lot of other people who feel the same way. I isolate, right? And when I say I isolate, I don't just mean like I go in my room and I stop talking to people. I mean, I isolate in the way of there's always some difference between me and you.
Right.
Always.
Right.
And that's just like the natural function of my mind. That's just how it works. And it still is like that to this day. But after becoming aware of that, I have been able to make some changes. The ego, for me, like I said, it's always telling me I'm different, right?
Right.
And when I feel different, I either need to do something to make myself feel worse or better. You know what I mean? Like, so what happens is I feel that, right? And I feel the need to make that action. And that action that I'm taking is based on what I want to do, right? The way I want to feel, whatever it is. So I have to be aware of that, and I think that's where like pausing when agitated comes in too. I have to be aware of that and take actions based on higher power and the program and everything I've learned, instead of taking actions based on my own will.
Right. How do you know when it's like your self-will or you running on self-will or your higher power's will? Do you just, or is it not a problem anymore?
I wouldn't say there's like a specific way to identify whether I'm doing one or the other.
Right.
But I generally try to take care of the blatantly obviously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Blatant obvious thing, like cutting somebody off when I'm driving. Driving is such a...
Yeah. It gets you.
Oh my gosh, I don't know why, but you know, just whenever I notice those
like
little thoughts in my head
right.
of like separating myself from you, like,
yeah.
look at how much nicer your car is, or look at how much nicer my car is. Do you know what I mean? Just materialistic things, or social status, or whatever it is.
Right.
If I'm taking actions based on that, I'm definitely not in the will of a higher power.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sarah, do you have anything to say about this one?
Not a whole lot. I know that the higher power thing was a little bit difficult for my brother when he first started because he's never really believed in anything like that. But that's something that, I mean, he's I don't want to say come to terms with because that makes it sound negative. But that's something that he now has more of an understanding about.
Right.
Because I think that's an important aspect to it.
Right. And, like, does he understand that your higher power can be anything? It could be nature, it could be the universe, it can be, you know, God, it could be, like, mine I call the homie. Like,
yeah, I think that's when it got a little bit easier for him, is when he started to realize it doesn't necessarily have to be, like, God or something like that. It could be anything, just something bigger than you.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Do we have any questions from the audience?
We absolutely do. The first question is, were any of your parents addicts and have they found recovery?
I think this question.
Yeah, my dad is an addict. He's in active addiction right now. He's been clean a couple times, but right now he's in active addiction. I'm really hoping that the more clean time my brother has, that my dad can see that it's like possible.
Right.
Kind of use my brother as an example for him. We'll see. I have hope.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on. Do you have...
No, what was the question?
Were any of your
Family.
parents addicts and have they found recovery? It could also be family or...
Yeah, I have a lot of family members in addiction, but the man I call my dad, not my biological father, he has 34 years clean and sober, but my actual dad, I don't think he believes he has a problem, and I'm not here to speak for him, but it's just we have a lot of the same characters as I did when I was in my active addiction, and I don't think he'll ever go to the program, like 12-step programs or anything like that, but there's still hope that he can get help with something else. Other than that, I know my aunt, she had to move. She left to move to Colorado from where she lived before that, and she reads 12-step books every day and is doing really well, and there is hope, and it's difficult, but you know, I don't have that much experience, and I was kind of the one that was out doing everything, so.
All right, we'll move on to the next question, which is, do you find yourself becoming afraid of your own clean time?
I've been afraid. Do you?
Afraid of my own clean time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say like being afraid of the time is like, I mean, I guess I'm afraid of more of like getting comfortable.
Yeah.
Just
that's
because
what
I
it
know
is for
like
me too.
that's what will take you down,
Mm-hmm.
right? I get comfortable. I think I'm normal. I don't remember what happens when I ingest a drink or a drug.
Right.
And then you know what I mean. The vicious cycle happens all over again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's mostly what I just constantly have to do things to remember. I'm a drug addict, right? If I drink, last time I drank one beer, and then I was doing heroin 2 days later.
Yeah.
Like that's what
just how it
happens,
works.
and I can't do those things, and you know, so I can't get comfortable, too
Right.
comfortable.
No, I know a lot of people that, you know, it's not the bad that's taking them out, it's the good. You know, they get their kids back, they have a car, they have a house, they're just doing really good, and they're like, okay, well, since my life's so good, why not, you know, try some heroin? Why not go take a drink? And as what you said, it starts there.
You get bored and
Yeah.
take things for granted,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like, well, now what?
Right. You don't remember where you came from.
Right.
And that's important. Just remember why you started in the first place.
Sarah, what about you and your brother? Do you worry for him in that regard? Do you think he's worried about his own clean time in that way?
I don't really know. We haven't talked about that, so I'm not sure.
Do you think you would worry less after a longer period of time would go on?
Yeah, I think, because he's been clean before, and I think that's kind of what happened. Is he thought like, oh well, if I just take one pill, I'll be okay. He thought he could do the recreational thing, and obviously didn't work in his favor. So I don't know. I hope this time that he realizes that it doesn't matter, how long you've been clean. You have to still take those precautions.
Right.
All right, we'll move on to the next question, which is, how did you stop yourself from the toxic behaviors and thoughts of active addiction?
I don't.
I still have toxic behaviors and thoughts.
And how much clean time do you have?
I've been sober a little over 3 years.
Yeah, so it's still there.
It doesn't end.
Right.
And it says in one of our books, it says, progress, not perfection. So continually trying to reach the connection for a higher power and paying attention to my behavior and making changes where changes need to be made, and trying to make up for the crappy behavior that I've done. So,
right.
But it still happens, and I'm still kind of Looney Tunes upstairs sometimes, and it's just trying to be aware of it and stay connected.
Right. I agree with that.
All right, and let's see. The next one is, I've recently relapsed, but I'm afraid to tell my friends in recovery and my family. I don't want to keep using, but how do I go about telling my friends and family that I messed up?
Okay, so there's this song I know. What? No, okay, and it says like,
Sing it.
no, I'm
song.
definitely not going to
Okay.
sing the song.
Okay,
It's, if I can be an example of getting sober, I can be an example of starting over. And those lines like blew me away the first time I heard them, because if you mess up, it's a part of recovery. If it doesn't have to be in your story, but if it is, then so be it. Just own it and be like, I messed up, but this doesn't mean the end. Like, I want to keep doing good, and now I know what to not do in order to keep. Does that make sense? I know like what my trigger was. Like, I know what I was slacking in. I know I need to pray more, I need to meditate more, I need to go to more meetings. I wouldn't be afraid. Just be an example of starting over.
I think it goes back to the reflection about pain, right? Before growth. Being in such amount of fear, right, is causing you some certain amount of pain.
Right.
And, it says right here, what are we saying? Maybe it does. I remember that growth is often painful. That's not it. Whatever it is, right? You have to go through some pain in order to grow and to make spiritual progress. And either way, you still had the experience of being sober.
Right.
Right. And that's definitely not a waste. And I don't know very many people that haven't relapsed. Honestly.
Yeah, no,
so I don't think that you're going to get the reactions that you think you're going to get.
right. I think if you're open and honest with them, that's what matters most. And then they can be your support again, and you just got to pick up and just like keep going.
All right, the next question that we have is, how do you deal with dangerous situations that might lead to a relapse?
Don't put yourself in them. But if it happens, it happens. Do the right thing. Pick up the phone. Call someone. I don't really have much to say, Connor.
Usually what I've seen and what I've experienced is that it kind of starts with small things. Right? And that dangerous situation is like at the bottom of that hill, kind of, where it's like, I could make this choice and you're not in a very good place. And,
right.
So I don't know, man. It's just
I have a. Were you done? I feel bad. I just didn't
Go
want to
for it.
forget what I was
Go
gonna
for
say.
it. Say it.
Okay, so I have like a little example of this. I was about 6 months clean, and I was hanging out with a friend that I knew I shouldn't have been hanging out with. They were still in active addiction, but I was invincible, so nothing was gonna stop me. And her drug of choice was meth, and mine was heroin. And she was like, "Well, heroin's bad. Why don't we just do some meth?" And then I was like, I knew deep down inside, I was like, I can't do this right now. And we got to talking about it, and then we got to looking for it, and then I found it, went to go pick it up, and she did it in front of me. And right then and there, I prayed to my higher power. I was like, please don't let me do this. And I remember where I came from, like what that one hit of meth would have done to me. I don't know how it happened, and I got very, I was blessed to come out of that situation still clean and sober, but I just, I went home, I cried a little bit. It's making me emotional talking about it, and I learned from it, and I grew from it, and it was painful, as the reading said, but it was just another experience. It does start with the little things. That's what reminded me of that situation. So, just do what you know is best. Remember where you came from.
the slippery slope.
Slippery slope. Slipping up the stairs.
All right. Our next question is, what is the best suggestion your sponsor has ever given you?
You go first.
The best suggestion my sponsor ever gave me. I guess a couple of the main ones are do the program no matter what.
Yeah.
And I took so much out of that because I don't know. I remember something was going on in his life, right? And I was at a meeting that he was speaking at,
Mm-hmm.
and you just don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Right? I don't know what is going to come my way. I don't know what life is going to bring me. Even as much as I think life is so predictable sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the truth is I have no idea what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I can't predict
Right.
the future. I don't know what's going to happen. And working the program no matter what allows me to be ready for it.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuck with me. Maybe it was just the way he said it or whatever it was. But work the program no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Good, bad, indifferent. Just do the program.
Sarah, what do you feel is the best suggestion you have or could tell your brother? Since you're not really in his shoes, you don't know his
Right.
sponsor, so.
I don't know. I guess I would just kind of the same thing. Just keep trying. I know it's not always easy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the biggest thing is just to keep doing it. Keep
Right.
going. Keep, moving forward.
I couldn't think of the best thing my sponsors told me. She throws so much at me sometimes that, basically what Connor said, just do it no matter what. No matter what, this is, you have to. I mean, it's either I'm going to stay clean and sober or I'm going to die. There's no in between. So, just keep doing the thing.
All right. And the last question that we have today, before we run out of time here, is what is your higher power?
You go.
Me?
Yeah.
I think that's the best part about getting some kind of connection is that it can be whatever I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's my choice. And personally, I never tried to figure it out. I didn't I got an idea right when I first went through the steps, and I just left it as it was.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Something that's personal to me, something that treats me in a reasonable manner, wants something good for me, all powerful. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just left it at the basic things, and I didn't focus on so much of what it is as the growth of my connection to it.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. And a lot of people I hear talk about it as being an experience,
Mhm.
right? And that kind of made sense to me as well. That connection is an experience, not just a thing.
Mhm.
And I can't put it in a box,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know. Whatever I want, whatever you want it to be,
Right.
right?
Thank you. That's a good one. I agree with him. Just like, got nothing to say.
Do you guys
Alright.
think that sometimes people get caught up on trying to put a finger on it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that is so okay. Thank you because this blocks out so many people from getting into the
Yeah.
program and staying in the program. They get shut off from it. I've seen it
Right.
happen so many times.
They hear the word higher power and God, and
Right.
they're out the door.
Because when I say God to somebody, like automatically they have so many other things related to that word in their head that
like
nothing gets through.
Instant emotional response, good or
Mhm.
bad.
Right.
Yeah.
So make it your own,
Yeah.
because it doesn't have to be what
Other people
you
say.
thought it was or what
Yeah.
other people say.
It can just be something so simple. You just can't put it into words.
Right. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. I know your face. You're like, "Ah."
I just know, I see it happen.
I know, I do too, and it sucks. But
It's awful.
yeah, thank you for that question. That was awesome.
All right, we are actually out of time, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. I want to thank Sarah, Bianca, and Connor again for joining us. And to anybody out there watching, we do this every Monday at 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Feel free to tune in. Feel free to share, click, like, comment. We do this every week, and we do this to share the message of recovery and to share the change that it can have in people's lives.